You open a bottle of wine. You pour a glass. You taste it. But before that wine ever touched a barrel, before a single grape was harvested, before the vines even bloomed, the story of that wine was already being written, silently, invisibly, beneath the surface. It was being written by the soil. Today, we're going underground. We're talking about one of the most powerful and most overlooked forces in winemaking, the earth itself. What it's made of, how it works, and why a few inches of dirt can be the difference between an ordinary wine and one of the greatest bottles ever produced. In the wine world, there's a French word you'll hear constantly: terroir. It comes from the word terre, meaning earth or land. But terroir is more than just soil. It's the complete natural environment in which a vine grows. The climate, the topography, the aspect of the slope, the drainage, the microorganisms in the ground, and yes, most critically, the geological composition of the soil itself. The concept of terroir is ancient. Medieval Cistercian monks in Burgundy, France, would literally taste the soil in their vineyards, trying to understand why one plot produced a different wine than the plot just meters away. They weren't doing it for ceremony, they were doing it because they noticed. The same grape variety, the same hands, the same techniques, and yet different wines. Modern science has given us the tools to understand what those monks were intuiting. And what we've found is remarkable. Soil isn't just a growing medium, it's an active participant in the flavor of your wine. Let's get specific. What actually is soil from a winemaker's perspective? First, there's the texture, the proportion of sand, silt, and clay. Sandy soils drain quickly, warm up fast, and produce wines that tend to be softer, lower in tannin, and aromatic. Clay soils, on the other hand, retain water and heat, and often yield wines of greater body and structure. Loam, a balanced mixture of all three, is excellent for many agricultural crops, but often considered too comfortable for the vine. And that's the first paradox of wine. The vine does not thrive when it's comfortable. When a vine struggles, when it has to push its roots down deep through rocky, poor soil searching for water and nutrients, it produces fewer grapes. But those grapes are concentrated, complex, interesting. This is why some of the world's most celebrated vineyards sit on what looks, at first glance, like completely inhospitable ground. Then there's geology, the bedrock and subsoil beneath that surface layer. This is where things get truly fascinating. Limestone is the foundation of some of the world's most iconic wine regions: Burgundy, Champagne, Chablis, the Côte d'Or. It holds moisture without waterlogging roots, and is strongly associated with wines of great minerality, precision, and aging potential. Chardonnay and Pinot Noir on limestone is one of the great love stories in all of wine. Granite, volcanic, ancient, acidic, is the hallmark of the northern Rhône Valley, of Beaujolais, of parts of the Mosel. Wines from granite tend to have incredible elegance, floral aromatics, and a lifted, almost crystalline quality. Granite doesn't hold heat well, which is actually an advantage in warmer climates. It keeps the grapes from over-ripening. Schist and slate, thin, layered metamorphic rocks, are the soul of the Douro Valley in Portugal and the Mosel in Germany. Schist absorbs heat during the day and releases it at night, extending the growing season and helping grapes ripen in regions that would otherwise be too cold. The Mosel Rieslings grown on blue slate are among the most complex, long-lived white wines on the planet. Volcanic soils, basalt, pumice, tuff, are found in places like Sicily's Mount Etna, the Canary Islands, and parts of Oregon. These soils are mineral-rich, often low in organic matter, and produce wines of striking intensity, smoky depth, and a unique saline or ashy quality. Gravel, think the left bank of Bordeaux, the Médoc, Pomerol's Plateau, drains perfectly and warms rapidly. Cabernet Sauvignon in Graves gravel produces some of the most structured, age-worthy red wines in history. Each of these soil types doesn't just feed the vine. It shapes the vine's stress level, its root depth, its water intake, and ultimately the chemical profile of the fruit. This is the part that wine lovers debate endlessly, and science is still working to fully explain. But here's what we know. Soil affects vine physiology. The depth, structure, and mineral content of soil determines how deeply roots grow and how much water and nitrogen the vine absorbs. All of this directly influences the concentration of sugars, acids, and phenolic compounds in the grape. the building blocks of flavor and structure. Soil affects drainage and temperature regulation. Well-drained soils prevent the vine from taking up excess water, which would dilute flavors. Soils with good thermal mass, like dark slate or volcanic rock, regulate temperature extremes, protecting ripening grapes from both frost and overheating. And then there's the concept of mineral uptake, the most controversial and debated topic in wine science. Can minerals in the soil actually end up in the wine and be tasted? The short answer, it's complicated. What we know is that vines absorb mineral ions through their roots: potassium, calcium, magnesium, iron. These influence the acidity and pH of the wine and can indirectly affect aroma compounds. The minerality that tasters describe, that whetstone, chalk or gunflint quality in a great Chablis or Mosel Riesling, is real and measurable, even if the direct pathway from rock to glass is not yet fully mapped. What scientists have confirmed is that the microbial life in the soil plays an enormous role. Healthy, biologically active soil, teeming with bacteria and fungi, creates a complex underground ecosystem that feeds the vine in ways that synthetic fertilizers simply cannot replicate. This is a core argument behind biodynamic and organic viticulture, that the life of the soil is inseparable from the life of the wine. Let's bring this to life with some of the world's most celebrated wine regions and the soils that define them. Burgundy, France, sits on a mosaic of limestone and clay that shifts from one village to the next, sometimes from one row of vines to another. This geological patchwork is precisely why a Gevrey Chambertin tastes nothing like a Chambol Musigny. The soil isn't just part of the story, it is the story. The Mosel Valley, Germany, follows one of the most dramatic rivers in wine. Steep slopes of blue and grey Devonian slate reflect light and retain heat, allowing Riesling to ripen at latitudes that should be too cold for premium wine. The resulting wines are tightrope walkers of sweetness and acidity. Priorat, Spain, is built on a rare soil called licorella, a crumbling mixture of black slate and quartz. The soil is so poor and erosion-prone that yields are tiny. But the vines that survive here produce wines of extraordinary concentration and a smoky mineral intensity that has made Priorat world-famous. Etna, Sicily, the slopes of an active volcano, may be the most exciting wine region of the 21st century. The volcanic basalt and ash soils are nutrient-poor but deeply mineral. Old vine Nerello Mascalese grown here produces wines of Burgundian elegance. Pale, transparent, perfumed, from some of the most dramatic landscape in viticulture. Napa Valley, California demonstrates that even within a single, relatively small valley, soil variation drives enormous stylistic differences. The valley floor's deep alluvial soils produce powerful, opulent Cabernets. The mountain vineyards on volcanic and rocky soils yield wines of harder tannin and greater tension. In every case, the winemaker's art is inseparable from the land's geology. So why does any of this matter to you as a wine drinker? Because understanding soil is understanding place. And wine, more than any other agricultural product on earth, is a record of place. When you learn that the lean, flinty quality in your glass of Chablis comes from ancient Kimmeridgian limestone, filled with fossils, you're tasting history. When you understand that the warmth and richness of a Châteauneuf-du-Pape comes partly from those famous stones that store the sun and release it at night, you're tasting landscape. Soil teaches us that wine is not manufactured, it is grown. It is a conversation between a plant and the earth it lives in, mediated by the hands of the winemaker, yes, but fundamentally rooted in geology and the slow work of nature over millions of years. That's why the best winemakers don't talk about techniques first. They talk about their land. The next time you open a bottle, take a moment before you drink. Think about where those roots are growing. Think about what lies beneath: the limestone, the schist, the volcanic ash. Think about what the vine had to work through to bring you that glass. The greatest wines in the world don't come from the most talented winemakers alone. They come from the most extraordinary pieces of ground. And now you know why. Cheers.